For everyone listening, you can even think about in your own life right now, if you've ever, well, let me take a step back. So, okay, really fast, self-confidence and self-worth, so different.
So different.
And we are raised by lots of well-intended, awesome family members, and if we're blessed, and by commercials and advertisements, all kinds of things, our whole life to think, if I just get these things, then I'll be happy, not realizing that those things all build confidence, but none of them build worth. And self-confidence is while it's an internal trait and it's so important in our lives, it's so valuable in our lives, but self-confidence is largely based on external things, on how we assess our skills and abilities, how we compare and stack up and measure to others, our willingness to try and go for it, if we're winning or losing, how much of the world's definition of success we have. And our self-confidence fluctuates, it's fragile. They do studies that the boxer that wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident. Like, it's very, and our self-worth is very different. That is the deep internal knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Do you believe the lie that you should only be seen when you're happy, right? Do you ever hide all your other emotions and maybe put on this sort of fill in your name uniform of the person you feel like everyone wants you to show up as, even though inside you might be feeling a whole lot of other things? Well, here's the deal. We live in a culture right now that sort of has these two juxtapositions. We're seeing all of this heartbreaking, horrific news happening all the time. And then we have good vibes only signs everywhere. And, I'm so much and such a proponent about positivity and about choosing the meaning we attach to things and all that. But it's also so important to know that you are worthy of being who you truly are, saying how you truly feel, meaning what you say, right? And showing up and believing you're worthy of showing up as who you really are in your friendships, in your relationships. It's so important, because every time we put on a mask and pretend to be somebody else, every time we hide the messy parts of our life, every time we think we should only be seen when we're happy, and then we show up inauthentically, whether it's in a friendship or in our job or in a relationship, on social media, doesn't matter where it is. Anytime you show up inauthentically, you are actually telling yourself you are unworthy of being who you truly are and feeling what you really feel, right? And it starts to chip away at your self-worth. And self-worth is everything, because in life, we don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. We don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And part of building really strong self-worth is identifying and unlearning all the lies that lead to self-doubt, and then igniting, waking up and embracing all the truths that wake up worthiness. So in my book, Worthy, there is an entire chapter. There's a whole section on the lies, by the way, unlearning the lies that lead to self-doubt. And one of those lies is, I should only be seen when I'm happy. And what does that look like? That looks like we might desperately want connection with a friend, but we wait to call them because we just don't want to burden them with our problems. Or we don't want to lower their vibration, or we don't want to bring them down. So then we hide, we feel lonely, and then we either put a mask on and call them and act like everything's great, or answer the call when they call, act like everything's great. Or we just wait until we have something positive or uplifting or great news to share with them. As a result, loneliness is at an all-time high. In fact, right now, 75% of us, right? You look at studies, 75% of us say that we'll only show our happy or positive emotions, and we'll literally hide or bury the negative or other, perceived negative emotions. I love the quote by Glennon Doyle that says, being human isn't about feeling happy, it's about feeling everything. And learning to know that you are worthy and that you are enough to feel everything is so important. Showing up as who you authentically are, fully you, is actually the only way to create a true human connection with another human, a true connection, right? We have all of these sort of false, unfulfilling connections that we might feel on social media, or we might feel if we're showing up as only part of who we are, but not all of who we are. And again, I said this a minute ago, but every time you show up inauthentically, you are telling yourself you're not worthy of being who you are. So it does slowly chip away at your self-worth. It's so important to know you are worthy of all of your feelings. They're all valid. The positive ones, the negative ones, the times when you just need to vent and have someone hear you, the times when you feel heartbroken, the times when you feel insecure, right? We all feel those. And we're kind of in this society where we're wearing these good vibes only shirts, and they're super cute. I have a few. But when we're only wearing those, we start to think that we're not worthy of showing up unless we're only feeling good vibes. And that's just not true. It is so important right now, today, to make the decision. Well, first of all, just be aware of it. Like, am I only showing up when I feel like I have something positive to share with someone? And am I feeling alone or hiding who I am, or not calling the friend back, or not answering the text, or not answering the call, or not answering the email, or declining the invitation when I feel like I'm just not in that positive state? And I don't want anyone to see me in anything other than a positive state. There's a recipe for loneliness. So today, just to kind of do a check and go, am I showing up for my true friends, the people I trust, the people I love, as all of who I am? Am I sharing times when I'm down and times when I'm up? Am I sharing how I really feel and saying what I really mean? And if the answer is no, decide if that's an old story, an old lie you want to unlearn, that you are only worthy of showing up when you're happy. Because it's a lie. You're worthy of showing up exactly as you are, right? And then today, make that decision to take one step. You could just take one small step forward of deciding, I'm going to call a friend up who I trust, and I'm going to actually share what I really feel. Or I'm going to share, I'm kind of insecure today, or I'm kind of down today. Right? And one tip, and I talk about this, and I go in deep in the chapter in Worthy called I Shall Only Be Seen When I'm Happy, the lie, and how to unlearn that lie. But one of my friends, Glow Atano, talks about how she does what she calls a capacity check, right? Have you ever had, because by the way, listening can actually be depleting. Studies show it's depleting on the listener. So listen, I'm a good listener, by the way. Listeners are heroes. My husband's a great talker. I'm a great listener. Listeners are heroes. It's also depleting to listen. And so one tool as you start to implement this in your life, where you start really sharing how you're really feeling, the good, the bad, the insecure, the excited, all of it, right, is what's called a capacity check, what Glow, my friend Glow, calls a capacity check, which means, when you call someone up, or it could be your partner at home or your friend, you just ask them like, hey, I have something kind of, serious I want to share, or heavy on my heart. Do you have capacity right now for a conversation? And then they might say yes, they might say no, they might say, oh, you know what, I'm super going a million miles an hour right now, but can we talk tonight at 6 p.m.? Like, you just kind of check, do you have capacity for a conversation that's not just happy? You know what I mean? And doing that capacity check is huge. I actually started doing it in my marriage. Sometimes when my husband Paulo will come up to me, I'll say, okay, do you want to just vent? Do you want me to give you advice? Do you want me to just listen? Here's how much capacity I have right now. And if you need more than that, let's pick a time, kind of thing. And I'll ask him the same thing. And it's been, huge for us. And, if you don't want to start asking this right away in your relationships, you could ask others to do it for you. Can you, check in with me and say capacity check? But if you aren't ready to do that yet, you can just start doing it, right? You can just call them up and say, hey, do you have capacity? Kind of a thing. But if you have a friend that maybe is always calling you and wants to just dump all the time, well, that's when you can kind of start to implement those boundaries. You can start by just setting the example yourself and just saying, hey, I want to share something with you, but I want to do a capacity check. Do you have capacity for this conversation? And then you kind of ease into it, and you eventually ask them, hey, would you mind just checking in with me if I have capacity for something that's heavy right now? And you just kind of build trust, and you build connection, and you speak your truth. And, it's the most beautiful thing that I know for so many of us who are raised people pleasers, or who believe, especially girls and women, we're taught like, just smile, just be quiet. Like, I have so many memories growing up of being a little girl, and I'd walk into a supermarket, and if I wasn't smiling for a second, some adult would say, smile. like as if that's my job. We're taught we should only be seen if we're happy. It's a lie, and it's a lie that leads to disconnection. It's a lie that leads to us showing up inauthentically and chipping away at our self-worth. So the time to unlearn that lie has come, because you deserve to be seen when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're insecure, when you're lonely, all the emotions, the good and bad. You are fully worthy of every single one of them.
And I also want to mention, I want to dive into this idea of worthy, of how can we feel worthy if there's so many people out there right now. And I know part of it is this process you just brought us through, but what is it like for yourself? What does that word worthy mean? And what's the, what are some of the ways and some of the narratives people need to adopt in order to feel worthy?
Yeah, it is. Self-worth is the one thing that literally changes everything in every other area of your life, your relationships, your business, your goals, your dreams. Like we do not, rise to what we believe is possible for us in life. We will fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And in our relationships, in our friendships, in our careers, our ambitions, our goals, our dreams, like we don't soar to the level of those goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. And another way to put it that I talk a lot about in Worthy in the book is how in life we actually don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And there are a lot of people that maybe know what they want and they think that's enough. Or then they take action and they work so hard and build all the skills and the confidence to be really good at it. And then they may even go a step further and know their why for why they're doing what they're doing, which is so important. But all of that isn't enough often to get the thing you want unless you also learn to believe you're worthy of it. And a couple big things that I want to share, and I wrote Worthy. It's packed with 20 tools on how to build self-worth. And I go over all of the lies that lead to self-doubt and how do you ignite those truths that wake up worthiness. Because what I've seen happen and what I lived through, and I think so many entrepreneurs or passionate people or high achievers or perfectionists have gone through this, what I'm about to share. And a lot of people go through it their whole life and never understand why they still, no matter how much they achieve, no matter how much they accomplish, no matter how many of their big dreams have happened, they still don't feel enough. They still feel like something's missing. And one of the biggest epiphanies I've ever had in my life was after I thought I had accomplished all of it. The company sold for $1 billion. I got invited to lunch with Oprah, which I had dreamed of my whole life. I'd been on the Forbes list, like you shared. All these things were happening. I finally, I was very confident. And let me just pause for a minute, okay? Because this is so important. So many of us confuse self-confidence with self-worth, and they're very different. So many of us think what we need is more self-confidence, but what we actually need is self-worth. And really quickly, and this is huge for your business, for your life, for your fulfillment, for your joy. Self-confidence, while it's an internal trait, is based so much on the external. It's based on our own assessment of our skills and abilities, based on how we think we stack up and compare to others and measure up against others, our willingness to try and go for it, our ability to keep promises to ourselves, how much of the world's definition of success we have. And our confidence is actually fragile. It's volatile. It rises and falls all the time, right? There's a study that shows the boxer who wins the match is automatically 30% more confident. Our confidence fluctuates. Our self-worth is the deep internal knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, not as you achieve, not as what's happening all around you, exactly as you are, exactly as God made you. And if you think right now, and just to ask everyone this question, if you've ever had a big goal or dream and you thought, once I get that thing, then I'll be happy, then I'll be fulfilled, then I'll be enough. And for some people, it's their business hitting a certain threshold, or for other people, it's when I finally find that romantic partner, or when I get married or have kids or get the 6-pack abs, or the dream car, whatever it is. And then you work so, so, so hard, whether it's for months or years or decades, and you finally get that thing. And then what happens? If you arrive at that thing and you're like, I thought this was going to solve all my problems and make me feel so happy and fulfilled and fully enough. And then we get there, and for a lot of us, we're happy for like a month or a week. And before we know it, we're back to feeling like something's missing. And if this has ever happened to you, it's because in the pursuit of those goals and dreams, we build a lot of confidence. We have a lot of growth. Those things are really important, but none of them build self-worth. And if we fundamentally do not believe we are enough as we are, which is a lie, by the way, but if we believe that, it does not matter how much we accomplish, how much of the world's definition of fame, success, money, contentment, whatever it is that we achieve, you still take you with you. And so many people have built all this self-confidence, and they feel like something's missing in their lives. So then they think something must be missing in my marriage. I'm feeling like it's not enough, or I'm going to quit this job. I'm feeling like it's not enough. I'm feeling unfulfilled. And what they don't realize is they don't have a net worth problem. They have a self-worth problem. Like when you fundamentally do not feel you are enough underneath it all, no amount of self-confidence, no amount of achievement, no amount of the world's definition of success can ever solve that. And the way I learned this was after my entire life's dream of like meeting Oprah. Since I was a little girl, I always dreamed of it. And I had sold my company and all the things were happening that you shared in the beginning. And I was so confident, Josh. And then I got invited to her house for lunch. She and I had a 3-hour lunch. At the very end of it, she gave me her cell phone number and said, you can call me anytime. Call me anytime. And the lunch was so good. And I left there and I did not call her for 4 years. And in that 4-year window, I told myself things like, I just need to think of the perfect thing to say. Or, everyone wants something from her. I'm going to prove I don't, all those things. And 4 years later, I realized I didn't call her because deep down inside, I didn't believe I was worthy of being her friend. And here's how low self-worth shows up in our life. When we really have low self-worth, we can have all the confidence and skills and abilities and look like we're crushing it to everyone on the outside. But if underneath it all, we don't feel we're enough and we have low self-worth, we will stay stuck. We'll never go for the thing. If we have some self-worth, we'll go for the things, but we'll sabotage them, which is what I did with meeting Oprah. I had all the confidence in the world, but underneath it all, I didn't have strong self-worth at the time. Even though to the world, it looked like I must just have it all. And if we have medium to high self-worth, but not super high, what that looks like is we'll go for the things, we'll even get the things, but we arrive at them not feeling fulfilled, perpetually unfulfilled, like something's missing, like we're not enough forever. And so building self-worth, and first of all, just being aware of it. I know right now there's going to be someone listening to us that's like, oh my goodness, this episode was for me. I thought I just needed more self-confidence. I needed to achieve more, when really that's not the thing. The thing is like, how do I learn truly to believe I'm enough exactly as I am? And the last thing I'll say is a lot of people worry, well, wait, if I believe I'm enough as I am I going to lose my ambition? I don't want to lose my ambition. And it's like, no, actually, when you believe you're enough as you are, like you become more ambitious because you're fearless about what will happen if you fail or fall flat on your face or any of the other things, because you know it doesn't impact your self-worth, which is unwavering. So it's really the one thing that changes everything. And the very first step, which I hope and pray is happening for someone in this episode right now too, is just that, like, wow, the awareness of this. And then going, how do I take steps to build that self-worth? And so it's really why I wrote Worthy. There's a whole chapter. There's over 20 tools in the book on how you do this. There's also a chapter for anyone who has a strong relationship and has strong faith in their life, on how believing God's word over your own self-doubt can be one of the quickest self-worth shortcuts. There's so many in there, but it's just, I'm so excited to you can probably feel me like jumping out of my chair, because it's just the one thing that day I realized, wow, I don't feel worthy, was the day I became obsessed with studying self-worth. And I did call Oprah that day. We taught a course together this year. Like, so many things would have never happened because I came so close to doubting myself out of my own destiny.
And you know, building self-worth is so important because here's what I know to be true. And this is a quote straight from the book, Worthy. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. You don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of. When I got this lesson in my life, after sabotaging a whole lot of stuff in my life, after getting some things I wanted, but then not understanding why I didn't feel fulfilled, or after getting some things and then literally losing them, this lesson has changed my entire life. I'm excited to share this sneak peek advanced chapter read of my book, Worthy, with you, and also dive into some incredibly powerful tools on how to build true, unshakable self-worth together. I wrote Worthy for every person who has ever doubted you're enough, for every person who's ever doubted your worthiness, and for every person who is sick and tired of what self-doubt has already cost you in your life. And I wrote Worthy after a series of powerful moments led me to consider, what does self-doubt already cost me in my life? And the answer was way too much. And if this is you too, I wrote this book with the intention of helping you feel less alone and more enough, and to share powerful tools that you can apply to your life right now to build true self-worth. So here's the thing, is I used to think I was all alone in these struggles, right? I don't know if you have them too and you feel like you're alone in them, but with deep self-doubt, like, I felt alone in that, and I used to try to hide it. And you know, once I became so much more aware, and then I became obsessed with studying self-worth and tools to build it, I learned that I am far from alone. You are too if you feel it. If you struggle with self-doubt, we are far from alone. Studies show more than 80% of women feel like they are not enough. First of all, that is why I'm donating 100% of my author proceeds of Worthy, that in big part go to programs that help build self-worth in girls and women. But it truly is the intention behind this book, because here's the thing, self-worth is the one thing that changes everything in all areas of your life. And what's beautiful and powerful is it is never too late to build it. I don't know who needs to hear this today. One of my amazing friends, Mally Roncal, always says, you are not too old, you're not too young, it's not too late, your best days are ahead. I love that quote from her. And here's the thing, it's never too late to unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness. So I wrote this book for you if you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. And I am so excited, and I just, I'd love to start by sharing some of the most powerful tools on building self-worth and sharing sort of the high-level overview and the table of contents for Worthy, and just sort of share with you a couple lines, and in some cases some deep tools on the key takeaways so that you know what you're in store with this book. Here's the thing. With Worthy, the table of contents, I'm gonna take you through it because I want you to really get it, take it in what we're expecting in this book. So part 1 of Worthy is called Seeing. This is all about self-confidence, self-worth, and self-revelations. So chapter 1 is called The One Thing That Transforms Everything. This is a chapter that lays out the foundation of self-worth and how building it truly impacts all areas of your life. And here's the thing, y'all. Okay, I gotta go deep for a minute before I continue. Self-confidence is very different than self-worth. Okay, I wanna pause for a minute and I wanna go deep here on this, because really this is the first tool that was one of the biggest breakthroughs in my life. And it really comes down to the importance of understanding the difference between self-confidence and self-worth, and how they both play out in your life right now. Okay, this one's big. See, both are so important, but they both are very different. And I've gotten so many questions from you on social media and even live questions tonight in the comments about this. So I want to go deeper for a minute. See, self-confidence, okay? Self-confidence is how you assess yourself based on your skills, your attributes, how you stack up compared to others, your willingness to try. If you keep the promises you make to yourself, self-confidence, even though it's internal, it can fluctuate by the second based on how things are going all around you, right? If you're winning or you're losing, if you're hitting your fitness goals, how much of the world's definition of success you have. And here's the thing, y'all, almost every advertisement our entire lives tells us, and well-intentioned family and friends, tells us that if we could just get the things that make us more confident, the money, that job title, the white picket fence, the perfect looking family, right? All the things people ask you when they see you, how's your job going? What about your family? Are you in a relationship, right? We're told if we get those things, then we'll be happy, then we'll be fulfilled. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever finally gotten that thing? Like you got it, like you worked so hard to get it. And then you arrive there and you realize, maybe it's after a year or a month or a week or a few hours, you realize you're still not fully happy. And it still feels like something's missing. So then what do we do in that case? We work harder and harder and harder and accomplish more and more and more. We think, I just got to achieve more. I've just got to get that next level. Then we arrive, and all y'all achievers out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. We arrive, and what happens? We still feel like something's missing. Here's why. It's because all of these things that we're so often striving so hard to get, they build self-confidence, which is so important to build. But none of them actually build self-worth. Self-worth is the deep, internal knowing that you are innately worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, right now, in this very moment. Not as you achieve, not dependent on anything happening around you or not happening around you or anything in the past that went well or didn't go well, but you are worthy exactly as your Creator made you. And so many women, whether you're high achievers or perfectionists or people pleasers, and really people everywhere, spend their whole lives striving and sacrificing for the things like hitting that fitness goal or getting that job title or the marriage and the kids and the dream house. And then they think, all of us do. You guys, decades of my life I thought I needed to achieve to be happy. But then we achieve and we arrive going, why aren't we fulfilled? Because while we're building great self-confidence along the way, which again it's such an important component of life, but we don't realize that those things don't actually build self-worth, and we haven't learned how to build strong self-worth along the way. So both self-confidence and self-worth are such important skills to build in life, but they're both very different. Self-worth is your foundation. That is your foundation. Self-confidence is the house you build on top of it. But your house will only ever be as secure and as fulfilled as the foundation it is built upon. Understanding the difference between self-confidence and self-worth will change every aspect of your life, and learning how to build true self-worth allows you to feel fulfillment while you're achieving all the things that can only build self-confidence. This is a huge revelation, y'all, because for those of you that feel like something's missing in your life and you don't know why and you're doing all the right things, right? And then people often, I'm gonna get way off on a tangent, let me not do this, but people often will quit a job because they think, oh, that's why I'm not fulfilled. Or they'll end a marriage or end a relationship or whatever it is because they think that's why I'm not fulfilled. Something's missing in my life. And so many of the times it's because they're doing all the things that build confidence and they think that they should feel like nothing's missing. But when they do not have underlying self-worth, you can never feel true fulfillment. So here's the deal, y'all. I'm not going to go off because we'll be on here for 10 hours of a worthy watch party, but separate of your victories and achievements or past mistakes and failures, you are fully worthy. Like, true self-worth is knowing you are fully, innately worthy right now, in this very moment, exactly as you are. Whew, that is chapter 1, by the way. So let me go through some of these a little faster. But y'all, we didn't come here to play. Like, your time is precious, and decades of my life, I couldn't understand why I felt like something was missing, or why I sabotaged opportunities, etc. This has been the one thing that's changed everything in my life. So I'm just honored to share it with you. Okay, chapter 2 is called Change Your Relationship with Rejection, Change Your Entire Life. If you feel stuck in life, or if you've had, the fear of rejection or failure, or if you've ever felt like you are a failure, and I only say that because so many of you guys write in and say that to me, that you feel that way, this chapter is going to be life-changing for you. Chapter 2, called Change Your Relationship with Rejection, Change Your Life. Chapter 3 is called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. You're not crazy, you're just first. If you have ever felt like you're different, or like who you are isn't enough, or like you don't belong, this chapter reframes that and will set you free. I am going to come back in a minute, actually, because I really want to share a powerful lesson and a tool with you in words that I hope speak to your soul, that you can apply to your life right now. Chapter 4, you have greatness inside of you. This is all about how your past doesn't determine your future. It's all about how your past mistakes or past pain or past regrets, past failures doesn't determine your worthiness, and how where you come from doesn't have to determine where you're going. Okay, if you're someone who feels like you've made too many mistakes, been too hurt, or maybe you feel like you've hurt others too many times, or maybe you feel like you're somehow damaged or broken or have been carrying around shame, I share some of the things in my past for the first time ever in this chapter. And I share things that most of my family doesn't know, that many who read it might shame me for. But I'm sharing them because this book isn't about me, right? This book is about the one person reading it. Maybe that is you, who needs to know that you are not alone, right? That your past, as my dear friend Ed Milet says, your past does not disqualify you from your dreams. And this chapter, I almost deleted a few times because I know how shocking it's going to be to a lot of people in my family. But here's the thing, y'all. The story the press loves to share about me looks like, the highlight reel, right? It looks like the highlight reel. And Denny's waitress builds billion-dollar company, and that's all true. But this isn't a book about my story. This is a book about your story, right? When I wrote Believe It, it was my journey of learning to believe in myself up until that point. Worthy is the playbook on how you can believe in you. And I just knew I cannot allow this chapter to be deleted because I know what I know. And it is for the one person, and maybe it's you, who feels like what you've done in the past and the shame you've been carrying around for it has caused you to have deep self-worth issues where you identify as someone who's broken or shameful or made too many mistakes and all that, and that you're sort of putting up this barrier of belief of how, we opened tonight talking about how in life you don't rise to what you believe is possible, you fall to what you believe you're worthy of. This chapter is about reframing and shifting what you know. I'm not even going to say what you believe, what you know you're worthy of, regardless of past mistakes or anything that's happened in the past.
But I want to go back to your own story, do you remember how old you were or what situation you were in life when you first realized, this could be a little girl, teenage years, whatever, that you were struggling with self-confidence?
Mm. I think there's one moment I can remember, and maybe a lot of people actually will have this moment in common. Because I think a lot of us have this experience when we, as little kids, we, have opinions and know the answers and this and that. I remember more than one moment where this happened, but I think the first moment is the most powerful. And maybe a lot of people listening to us have had this moment. I can remember as a little kid, like the first time in the classroom, knowing the answer. And for the first time ever, deciding not to raise my hand. Like the first time self-doubt kind of like took over, and I had thoughts like, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I get made fun of? What if all of that, right? And I think for a lot of us, self-doubt can get so loud, and all of a sudden, before you know it, we're adults and parents and grandparents, and we're still in a spot where we can again be having all kinds of worldly success, but no, deep down inside, we're still not raising our hand. And what that can look like is, oh, my business is doing so phenomenally well, but I actually have these really like God-sized dreams about it or different types of ideas for it, but I'm afraid to actually put them out there or take a chance just in case I fail. I think who I am with these ideas maybe isn't enough. Maybe I'm inadequate to actually lead my team to that next level. So we're so many of us are still that person, still not raising our hand, even though we're able to check enough boxes around us to hide it. And so, for me, I can remember when self-doubt started to kick in. And then I remember a number of moments in my career. And I know you go deep on your show, deep on your podcast. But and maybe a lot of people listening can relate to this, especially people in a leadership position, or who's leading a team is, I found myself in many moments in my life knowing how to do enough to do that well, but also knowing deep down inside, I didn't feel like I was enough. I felt often like I'm an imposter. Do I have what it takes to do this? And there were many moments where I did doubt myself out of my own destiny. So I think while a lot of people might know my story is, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion business, or first woman to hold a CEO title in L'Oreal's history of any brand in their 100+ year history. My real story is a girl who went from not believing in herself to learning how to believe in herself. And my first book, Believe It, is really my journey of learning how to believe in myself. But Worthy is really the playbook on how do you believe in you. And it's packed with over 20 tools that are real tactical that you can really apply to your life right now. Like I think of the rejection framework, but for an example in the book. And, a lot of people will ask, well, how did you, endure years and years and years of rejection building your business? And a lot of people don't know we were teetering on bankruptcy for many years. A lot of people just kind of know the success story. Wow, it's now one of the largest, companies in that space. But for many years, it was rejection after rejection. And I think, learning how to deal with that is such a powerful thing, and also how to almost embrace it in a fearless way, how to reframe past rejection so we don't let them take root and start to think that we're a failure, which can then take root in our self-worth. And so, yeah, I packed it with lots and lots of tools on hopefully that everyone can apply to their lives right now. Because, one of the things I say in the book is that, when it comes to your business or your leadership or your life or your relationships or your goals and dreams, that we don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth, and we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And so, when you build your self-worth, it's just one of the most, and doing that through faith and doing that through a whole lot of other tools, because at the end of the day, building strong self-worth is not about learning new things. It's actually about unlearning. It's about unlearning a lot of the lies that that lead to self-doubt, and then igniting those truths that wake up worthiness. Self-confidence and self-worth are completely different. We so easily confuse the two, and understanding the difference is literally the one thing that will change everything in your life. There are so many of us, myself included, who have actually done so much great work to build self-confidence. But then we sabotage things, we stay stuck, we don't get what we want because we don't realize, oh, I have a whole lot of self-confidence, but I actually don't have strong self-worth. And they're very different. They're very, very different. So self-worth is truly the one thing that can change everything in your life. In your life, your relationships, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, your amount of joy and fulfillment. So in Worthy, which is all about, how to believe you're enough and transform your life, there's simple steps that give life-changing results. There is an entire chapter called The One Thing That Changes Everything. And I break down, and I'm going to share right now in this video as well, but I go deep in here on breaking down the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Both are important, but so many of us literally live our entire lives just building self-confidence. And then we never realize, why don't we feel like we're enough? We keep accomplishing more and more and more, and we finally do enough and have enough and become enough and all that, but we still don't feel like we're enough. It's because of not understanding the difference, and it's because of doing all the things that build self-confidence, but none of the things that build self-worth. So let me just break this down for a minute, because this is so important, okay? Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is actually based on so much happening around you externally, and it fluctuates all the time. Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is based on so much externally. So your self-confidence right now is based on things like your own assessment of your skills and abilities, your willingness to try and go for it. If you keep the promises you make to yourself, how you feel you stack up or compare to others, how much of the world's definition of success you believe you have. All those things impact your self-confidence. It can rise and fall quickly based on if you're winning or losing, right? There's studies that show the boxer who wins the match is automatically 30% more confident, right? Your confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. It's volatile. Your self-worth is the deep internal belief and knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Not as you achieve, not as what's happening all around you in the outside world, but knowing you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Another way to put this is self-confidence is your belief in your abilities as a person. Self-worth is your belief in your value as a person. Your self-worth is the foundation. Your self-confidence is the house you build upon it. But you'll only ever be as strong as the foundation that house is built upon. And here's what this looks like in our lives, right? So many of us, let me just ask you this question right off the top. Have you ever had something you really wanted, and you thought, if I eventually get that thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. Then I'll feel enough. Maybe it is a job title, or it's a certain number in the bank account, or it's, 6-pack abs, a certain goal weight. Maybe it is, running the triathlon or doing the triathlon. Maybe it's getting the white picket fence, or getting married, or, falling in love, or having 2.5 kids. Have you ever wanted that thing and just thought, one day when I get that, then I'll finally feel happy and fulfilled? And then for so many of us, we've had those things and then we get the thing, right? For some of us, we work really, really hard for years and we finally get the thing. And let me ask you this, when you finally got the thing, then what happened? Were all your hopes and dreams did they miraculously happen? Were you happy and fulfilled and enough forever? Or did you feel this temporary high followed by a slow descent back to feeling like something's missing and like you don't know what's missing, but you just feel like you're not enough and something's missing from your life? Okay, here's why. It's because in the pursuit of all those things, you built a whole lot of self-confidence, but none of those things build self-worth. Self-confidence is really, really important in life, as is growth, always growing in one area or another, as is contributing to something greater than yourself. Those three things are really important, but you multiply all those by your level of self-worth to get your level of ultimate fulfillment in life. Building strong self-worth is truly the one thing that changes everything. It's why I wrote Worthy. There's over 20 tools in here on how to build strong self-worth, because here's the deal. When you don't, and by the way, there have been so many times in my life where I had so much confidence and I didn't understand why I didn't feel enough, or I didn't understand why I sabotaged an opportunity, or I didn't understand why I stayed stuck and didn't put my art or my ideas or my full expression of my business out there. It's because we will not, over time, we will not perform to the level of our potential. We will plateau at the level of our self-worth. Every time, over time. Every time, over time. It's why you've seen people out there in the world that can achieve everything, have every level of what the world defines success as, fame, fortune, whatever it might be. And they're not happy. And they're not happy, right? Strong self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. And if you are wondering if this is an issue in your life, there's really three ways that low self-worth can show up, right? One, if we have really, really, really low self-worth, we'll stay stuck. We'll know we have great ideas or we're deserving of an amazing romantic relationship, but we'll stay stuck in one that's not good for our soul. And we don't realize it's because we don't fully feel we're worthy of a great relationship, right? We'll stay stuck and not go after the thing. We'll stay stuck and not write the first word of our book that we know we're born to write. We'll just stay stuck and never go for the thing because we don't believe we're worthy of it. We don't realize that's what it is, but that's so often what it is. So that's one way, staying stuck, right? Another way is if we have, a little bit more self-worth, maybe low self-worth, we'll actually go for things and then we'll sabotage them. We'll meet a really incredible potential partner and we'll somehow mess it up or put them in the friend zone. We literally sometimes just aren't even attracted to them and we don't know why, even though they're a great person. It's because when deep down inside we have low self-worth, we don't believe we're worthy of it. Or we'll go after a big opportunity and we'll be so confident doing it, and then we'll just somehow sabotage it. And then if you have medium self-worth, but it's not quite high, you'll actually go for things. You'll accomplish them, right? You may even believe you're worthy of them. But if you only have medium level self-worth, you'll arrive at them and still feel like you're not enough. You'll still feel empty inside. There's so many people in marriages or in incredible situations in their career where they feel like something's missing, like it's not enough, and they don't know what it is. So they think it's their partner or they think it's their job, right? What it is deep down inside, they haven't done the work to build strong, unshakable self-worth. Your self-worth is the one thing that literally changes everything. So step one is to be aware of the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Your self-worth is your unremitting identity and your belief that you are enough exactly as you are. And by the way, when you learn to believe you're enough exactly as you are, it doesn't prevent you from being ambitious. It actually gives you more ambition because you're not afraid to fail because it doesn't impact your self-worth. You're not afraid to put yourself out there, to go for things, even if you fall flat on your face, because that might hurt your confidence for a minute, but it does not determine your self-worth. Your self-worth is deep, it's internal, it's unwavering. It's why I wrote Worthy, because literally when you learn to build your self-worth, there's over 20 tools in here on how to do it. It is the one thing that transforms everything.
Here's a big one for me is changing my relationship with rejection. Yes. And this is, for every person listening, when you change and watching us too, when you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life.
Yeah.
You change your entire life. And I think, fear of failure and rejection kills so many dreams. It keeps us stuck. And this was huge for me. And so just to take everyone through a tactical, let's just go there. Let's do a tactical exercise right now, because this is something that outside of this episode, you're going to want to reapply it, spend more time on it, do the work on it. But just right now, as you're listening or watching us, answer this question to yourself super honestly. When you fail at something or get rejected, what is the first thought that goes through your head? Very first thought. When you fail at something or get rejected, what's the first thought that goes through your head? For me, most of my whole life, it's, there's proof again. I'm not enough.
Yep.
I'm not enough.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah? Is that yours then?
Yes.
Same?
Yeah.
Right now, whatever your thought that just came to your mind, right? That your instant truth first response, that is your current definition of rejection, right? So for me, it's, there's proof I'm not enough, right? For a lot of people, it's something like, I'm not smart enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm stupid. I'm, X, Y, or Z. I didn't go to the right school. I didn't come from the right family. I don't have what it takes. It's because of my weight. It's whatever it might be, right? We all have this definition of rejection. And I want you to just take note of yours right now, because this is really powerful. Don't skip over this. This one thing will change your life. If you take note of what is your current definition of rejection, for me, it's I'm not enough, right? And
can I tell you what mine's more specifically?
Yeah.
Just a little bit more refined?
Yeah.
Because I want to meet you in the middle on it. I think mine is like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different, but like, I don't belong here. I don't know. I think there's probably some things where when I was a kid, my dad was like, we don't belong. But if I get into an environment, I don't belong here. If it's a big stage to speak on, or a room that I'm in, or people that are smarter than me, I don't belong here. I feel like I just physically, literally don't belong. Or even different things I've achieved, or levels, or like the first time I even walked into a country club I wanted to join. I don't belong here. They don't know the real me. Like, I don't belong here. And so I just want to give the phraseology from me. Maybe could be male, female. It could be just person to person. That's different.
Yes.
Keep going. I interrupted you. I just wanted to add that.
No, that's so good. I think that sheds a lot of light too because get granular with, for everyone joining us with it right now, just get granular on what that is for you, and by the way, I have another thing. I hope we have time. I want to dive deep on what you just said. I'm going to dive deep in that in a minute with a whole other tactic.
Okay, good.
But I don't belong here. That's huge, right? I don't belong here. I'm not enough. And at our core, we all want to feel like we're enough and will be loved, right? We all need love and belonging. We all need to be seen and heard and know that we matter. And at our core, that's a huge one.
Did you have the belonging thing? I wonder, because you didn't, your birth mom gave you up real early, right? So like, did you, or did your the mother who raised you make you feel like you belonged immediately, or did you struggle with that at all?
I have struggled with that my whole life.
Have you?
Yeah. Not feeling like I fit in, not feeling I belong, feeling I'm different.
Yes. And maybe you are different, and maybe that's a good thing. It doesn't mean you don't belong, but I am different. You are different. I know you. By the way, those of you that are listening, you are different. That's why you're individually you.
Yes.
Right? That's the thing that makes you different is your special sauce.
Yes.
Not the thing that eliminates you from the room or the environment. It's what makes you special to add something to your family, add something to a company, add something to another human being. Is these different things about you? So anyhow, you're going down your treasure.
And to add to that, it's your superpower. If you are showing up in this world as your authentic self, by definition, you've never been done before. There's never been another you. And we think the thing that is different or quirky or awkward about us is what's wrong with us, but it's actually the thing that's right with us, right? And I don't want to get off on a huge tangent, but like, had I not embraced all the crap that was technically wrong with me, I could have never built $1 billion company. Like, rosacea is considered a flaw. It's considered something wrong with me. And it's like when I finally started to embrace it and share it and step into it, right? That's when other people felt seen. I was like, oh, me too. And I have skin challenges or this or that or whatever. And it's like, there's a whole chapter in Worthy about this idea of how you're not crazy, you're just first.
I love this.
You're not crazy, you're just first.
Yes.
And And oh gosh, okay, I could talk about that for hours, but the lessons around this will change your life. It's why this book just came through me. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds. I'm not even doing this to sell books, but this book will change your life, and I'm so fired up about it. But to get real tactical, back there. So we just did our new definition, your current definition of rejection, which for me is like, proof again, I'm not enough. Yep. For Ed is, I don't belong here, right? And take note of what yours is that came to your mind right now. And step one of literally changing your entire life. Again, when I believe this through my core, when you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life, your business, your family, your relationships, your goals and dreams, ever stepping into your calling. So I want you to come up with a new definition of rejection that you are going to believe is true and remind yourself of every time it happens. Okay. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. So, for example, when I went through years of hundreds and hundreds of no's and rejections building It Cosmetics, and I would sit there, Ed, and I would Google all of my greatest heroes or people I thought I had so much respect for. And as I would read their stories, I'm like, oh, they've all gone through tons of rejections in their life, right? Every single one of them, right? And I came to this realization that the people who succeed the most are also the people who fail the most, because they're the people who try the most and keep going. And so I started telling myself this new definition of rejection, which is, ooh, it's a victory. It means I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it.
Yes.
And I started telling myself that every time I call a new retailer on the phone and they're like, oh, no, you're not the right fit for us or this or that or whatever. And it would hurt my feelings. It's not that I was immune to being hurt or whatever, but I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it, which means eventually I'm going to succeed. And I started seeing rejection in this weird way as a positive thing. Okay. Another definition that I use a lot is rejection is God's protection.
Yes.
Right? And I use this one a lot, and there are more in my own life, in my own head, right? This is something I tell myself over and over. There's more stories than I can count where I'm like, and by the way, one example is It Cosmetics. I mean, there was one investor midway through the journey that said, he passed on investing. And I thought we were down to almost bankrupt, right? Yep. We had under $1,000 in our account, which was the company and our personal, which meant we had a few weeks left before we went bankrupt. Yep. And everything was on the line. And I had this big meeting with a potential investor. And you know the story, Ed, but
it's so unbelievable. At the
end, he passed on investing. And I really was thinking he was going to be like my saving grace. And he said that he didn't think women would buy makeup from someone who looked like me with my body and my weight. And it was a whole thing. And
Wait a second. Hang on. Did you all just hear what she said? Okay, I want you to imagine you struggle with worthiness issues. You've been building this company forever. I just want to make sure, because I think what you're about to tell them, the belief system that you took from it, could change the world. So the first thing is, I want to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not crazy. You're just first. I want everyone to just digest that. I want you to hear what this woman said. Who knows about this stuff? You are not crazy to be pursuing your dream.
Yeah.
You're just first.
Yep.
And you're probably first in your family, which is why they're the ones who think you're the craziest. You need to accept this. Yeah. Okay? There's a profound... Jamie has this ability to say profound, deep things over and over again, hundreds of them, and she doesn't know. You are not crazy. You're just first. And your family's probably not going to get it. And even in your own company, maybe they're not going to get it. And so that's okay. The second thing is, this woman's struggling with worthiness all of her life. She's getting rejected like crazy, up and down. She's also struggled, one of her worthiness issues is she had rosacea. She's struggled with body issues all of her life, if we're going to get really real with Jamie. Okay? Yeah. She's had body issues. So imagine your biggest insecurity is probably that. It's physical. Okay? She's this gorgeous, beautiful woman, but she doesn't know it. And so her number one insecurity is probably her body issue, at least operating out in the real world. She goes into this meeting needing it. She's down to $1,000. He not only rejects her, He says to you, I'll let you say it again. Yeah. He tells her the very reason I'm rejecting you is the very thing you think about yourself the most deeply. I want you to imagine this. So go ahead.
Yes. And we had gone through meeting after meeting. We went through the diligence phase. We were so close with this potential investor who was the head of a private equity company. And in the final meeting, it was in person. So he's about 3 feet from me. Paula, my husband, was on the other side. And he says, congratulations. You should be so proud of this product and what you've built, but it's a no. We're going to pass on investing. And when I said, can you tell me why? It's usually feedback's a gift. And he got very quiet. And he said, you want me to be really honest with you? And I said, yes, please. And he said, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And 2 things though, Ed, okay, because rejections and the pain that they cause can take us out. They can take us down. They can take us out. We can keep replaying them over and over and over in our heads. And by this point, I had so many rejections. This was just one that I thought was going to be my saving grace, that had he said yes. And I remember after I cried in my car, I remember telling myself rejection is God's protection. And I don't know how this is going to be God's protection. I don't see it now. It doesn't make sense to me now. I needed it to be a yes now, but I'm going to choose to believe that, because if I don't believe that, it's going to take me down. I'm not going to get back up and keep going and embracing more rejection and more rejection and more rejection and more rejection, right? And here's what ended up happening. I didn't hear from that guy for 6 years. The day that L'Oreal bought my company for $1.2 billion cash, because they are a public company, it was all over the press, right? Homepage of the Wall Street Journal, everywhere. That was the first time I heard from that potential. In 6 years, he said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong.
Gosh.
And what I wanted to say to him, Ed, was, did you ever see Pretty Woman?
Yes, the character's Edward. Of course I saw Pretty Woman. I love that movie.
So when they wouldn't help her in the store, and then she goes back later, what I wanted to say to him was, big mistake. Huge. I can give you 1.2 billion reasons why it was a huge mistake, but I kept it classy. I didn't say that. But here's my point in this. Had he invested, it would have been the most successful investment in his firm's history. But guess what? I was so desperate at the time, Ed. We probably would have given the majority of the company for almost no money, right? Because he didn't believe in me. When we sold to L'Oreal, I was the largest shareholder. So it's like, rejection is God's protection, and sometimes we don't see it when it happens. And so that's one.
Can we say something on that too?
Yeah.
Okay. So because her and I talk about these things all of the time. First of all, it's one of the most unbelievable stories ever, and I've heard it many times. A few weeks ago, I went to watch Jamie speak. I'm in the front row. Obviously, I'm rooting for my friend. But I got emotional again. I started crying again. And actually right now, if I'm not careful, I will, because I'm picturing this woman who all of her life has struggled with worthiness. And then to have someone hit you right where he's hit. But rejection is God's protection is one of the fundamental beliefs I've never heard said before, that if you adapt and adopt that belief in your life, it will change your life. Here's how much your relationship with rejection matters. My children, both, you get that stage, Max and Bella. Both of them are, hey, they're in college, you're getting ready for their careers. And Max's son said, maybe I'll follow in your footsteps, Dad, get into sales in the beginning. And I said, Max, the whole key, if you're going to go into business for yourself, is your ability to deal with rejection. It's the number one thing. Can you deal with rejection? And what's the story you tell yourself? Because it's not the stories of our life, the events of our life that define it. It's the meaning we attach to it. Our friend Earl McManus had a great post I saw today, by the way, Jamie, where he said, emotions only store in our body when they're attached to a story. So if there's no story, you've had a lot of emotions in your life that don't stick because you didn't attach a story to it. But when you attach a story to it, so that story you tell yourself. So you take it a step further. This is an all-time moment on podcast she's about to give you, just so you know, guys, okay? So not only is rejection God's protection, but what else did you eventually uncover that you realized about what God was doing on your behalf in that rejection in terms of hiding something from him? You guys listen. Your life's about to change in this next 1 minute right here, because if you can adapt this true belief system, it's not only a belief, it's a truth about your life. Your life's about to be very different, including mine the first time I heard it. So go for it.
Yeah. If you're someone that, you are holding on to pain from a past relationship, a past failure, mistakes that you've made, someone who did you wrong, the job you didn't get, the thing that's not going your way, whatever it might be, the partner that screwed you over, whatever it is, right? This definition of rejection is probably the most common one I applied in my life right now, almost every single day, Ed, because sometimes, you know what? A friend doesn't invite you to coffee or include you in a group, and it hurts your feelings, right? Whatever it might be. This is now what I believe most commonly when rejection happens in my life. I imagine my creator, God, saying, oh, no, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I believe that, right? When things don't go my way right now, when someone, doesn't give me the thing or want me there or include me in the room, whatever it might be, or doesn't get me for some reason. Have you ever tried to make someone you want to connect with them so bad, you want them to like you and they just don't? Whatever it might be, I believe this through my core, and it has changed my life, that I always now hear God saying to me, oh, no, you're not rejected. You weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny.
It's one of the all-time greatest things I've ever heard. And I wish every human being could hear it. And I hope you share this, everybody, this episode.
Yeah.
I want my daughter to know that. I want my daughter to know it so badly that when you walk in a room and a boy doesn't notice you like you like them to, or you don't get invited to something, or you get rejected in a sale down the road in your life, or if you're in a relationship and somebody leaves you, God had started to hide your value from them.
Yes.
And I'm telling you at 52, and Jamie can tell you as a much younger woman than I am, but having a lot of success in her life, it is so profoundly true that that's what God's doing. He is protecting you in that moment by either hiding your value or taking the perception of your value away when they once did. And sometimes in life, to get you out of a relationship or out of a company or out of a job you have and you've been fired.
Yes.
You've been fired.
Yes.
Maybe they used to value and now they don't. And God's removed that value from them to protect you.
Yes.
It's so beautifully true. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to say it.
True. Yeah. And I love what you said earlier. Share this episode with anyone who needs to hear this.
You give such great tactical tools. Like, I could go into, I'm trying to think of like my favorite of all of the tactical tools, because there are so many, and there's so many that really align with the things that I write about. And I love the fear of failure. That's a huge thing. Like what you open the book with. Oh my gosh. It's so powerful. Picturing the little child. I want to read that line because that's a really powerful line. In the very beginning of the book, Jamie talks about how when you're sitting in the classroom and you know the answer, and the teacher asks, the question, and what is that little voice inside of your head that makes you not lift your hand and not say the answer? You're right. Like, that's the first little instance of that, even when we're children, of not speaking up, not trusting ourselves and our intuition, that we know the right answer. We know the right direction. And I loved that line from the book. And I remembered that from the very beginning of the book to the end. But I'll let you speak to that too. I was going to ask you, of all of the tools in the entire book, what do you feel, if you had to pick one thing from Worthy, one thing, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. So there's like 3, and just what you were saying.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I know, and there's over 20 tools, because, sometimes we get a book and then we're like, well, that was great, but how can I apply it to my life? And I wanted this book, and you just said it so beautifully, Mallory, for wherever anyone's at in their life. I wanted them to be able to apply this to their life right now, to literally learn to believe in themselves, even if it's for the first time ever or for the first time in a long time. And it's just, and the part you're talking about, I think so many people can relate to is often when we're little kids, like we're bold, we're all the things. And then so many of us can remember that moment in the classroom. And for everyone listening right now, maybe you can think back and, there's this moment a lot of us recall where like for the first time ever, we knew the answer, but like we decided not to raise our hand. We decided to doubt ourselves, or think maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'll get made fun of if I stand out and know the answer. And all the stuff starts happening, and we start to learn all these lies in our life that lead to self-doubt, to us hiding in plain sight, doubting we're enough, feeling like an imposter. And what I want to say is, and you asked about the difference like between self-confidence and self-worth. That one thing alone is actually super life-changing for anyone listening. And I just, and I would love to kind of explain that, because that's something that everyone listening can apply to their life right now, today, from this episode, from this show.
Yes,
but,
I would love to do that too.
You know, and in real life, Mallory, just everyone can, I think, watch, and I just love you and celebrate you and love how you are fully authentically who you are out into the world, and you cannot fake authenticity. And that is why so many people connect with you. But just for everyone listening in real time, because I know this is all one big family.
It is.
As I sit here in my Sundays talking, I just want everyone to kind of put this in perspective through Mallory for a minute, and think about, not to put you on the spot, but think about like Mallory's journey and how you're watching it unfold before your eyes, of her, you know, journey through everything from television to pageants to launching, you know, Living Fully Co. to now in my Sundays. And all of us have dreams and hopes and ideas and things inside of us. And as we step into who we are in this world and who we feel we're called to be, our self-worth will be our ceiling. And so why I wrote this book is for every person, no matter where you're at, no matter if you're going to launch your own version of Living Fully Co, or you want to have the self-worth and belief and confidence in yourself to just decide to start showing up authentically on social media, or to make new friends as an adult, or to set boundaries for the first time ever, or to say what you really feel and mean what you really say. I mean, there's so many areas this applies to our lives. But even watching you, Mallory, and everything that you're building in real time, the greatest key to your success will be that you continue to fully show up in alignment with your assignment as who you authentically are.
I love that line in the book, by the way.
Right?
Alignment with your assignment.
And then also that you don't doubt yourself out of your own destiny, because to watch you doing these great things, and I'm just sharing this in community with everyone listening now, like we're all together in a room in our Sundays, and we're just talking and all cheering you on. And we're all part of this beautiful journey with you, with everything you're putting out there in the world. And here's what happens to a lot of people. At some point in the journey, sometimes before they've even started it, they deep down inside don't think they're worthy of it. And so they stay stuck. Because here's the thing, just to take a big step back, self-worth, and when we have lack of self-worth, which again is very different than self-confidence, I'll explain that in a second. But if we have a self-worth issue, this is what it usually looks like in our lives. If we have pretty low self-worth, and by the way, I've been in a spot where I've been accomplishing so much and the world's telling me I'm amazing, and I have a lot of self-confidence, which is all external based, but inside I didn't believe I was enough. And when we struggle with low self-worth, for a lot of us, it looks like this in our lives. It looks like we are stuck. We are stuck. We don't go for the thing. We have the business idea, but we don't launch it. We have the website we want to register, or we want to put our art out into the world, or our ideas, or we want to share a really cool idea at work that might change everything, but we stay stuck. We don't do it. We don't know why. We tell ourselves stories like, oh, I just need more experience, or, oh, I need to get more skill sets, but really, we don't realize it's because deep down inside, we actually don't feel worthy of the thing. So we will stay stuck. And that if we have low to medium self-worth, what that looks like in our life is we might go for the thing. We might launch it. We might put ourselves out there, but then we will sabotage it along the way. We'll write the whole first half of the book and then we'll stop. We'll put the business out there, and then we don't know why we're scrolling Instagram for 8 to 10 hours a day. Like we'll totally put ourselves on the dating app. We'll start dating, and then we meet a great person, and we all of a sudden put him in the friend zone and aren't attracted to him, and we don't know why. Like when we don't think we are worthy of something, whether it's of receiving love a certain way, because deep down inside, we don't fully love ourselves yet, whether it's any number of things, we'll sabotage it or we'll hit a ceiling. And then if you have medium to high self-worth, but it's not quite high, what that looks like is we'll actually go for the thing. We'll make it happen. We'll be crushing it everywhere, but we'll arrive at it still feeling like it's not enough and like we're not enough and like something's missing.
And
like,
unfulfilled.
Unfulfilled.
I love that when you talk about how like the self-worth is it's the foundation of your fulfillment. Yes. I'd never thought of it like that.
Yes,
because I have had different versions of self-worth, and it's amazing that you speak to those 3 different people in this book. So it's like anybody that picks up worthy, whether it's like, I've never had self-worth and I've never started anything and I've never raised my hand and I've never been that person. You talk to them in this book. The medium person, you self-sabotage. Self-sabotage was such a big like theme in my own life. And that's a tough one because like, especially if you are a perfectionist or like a recovering perfectionist, it's like, that's my own fault. You know, it's like a double whammy. But I love that high tier self-worth piece that it's tied to fulfillment. Because man, do I relate when you talk about over and over in this book about how you got to the top of the mountain and you had all the things and everybody's like, awesome job. And you still don't feel it. It's like, well, what in the heck else can I do? Nothing. Go inside.
Yes, because here's the thing, like wherever you go, whatever you achieve, whatever, you still take you with you. And so, and here's the thing is for everyone listening, you can even think about in your own life right now, if you've ever, well, let me take a step back. So, okay, really fast, self-confidence and self-worth, so different.
So different.
And we are raised by lots of well-intended, awesome family members, and if we're blessed, and by commercials and advertisements, all kinds of things, our whole life to think, if I just get these things, then I'll be happy, not realizing that those things all build confidence, but none of them build worth. And self-confidence is while it's an internal trait and it's so important in our lives, it's so valuable in our lives, but self-confidence is largely based on external things, on how we assess our skills and abilities, how we compare and stack up and measure to others, our willingness to try and go for it, if we're winning or losing, you know, how much of the world's definition of success we have. And our self-confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. They do studies that the boxer that wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident. Like it's very, and our self-worth is very different. That is the deep internal knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, not as your past or your past mistakes, not as how much you achieve, but exactly as you are. And when you think about like self-confidence is like the house we build and all the rooms and we can add to them and decorate them. And it's like amazing and important. But our self-worth is the foundation beneath our house, and our house will only ever be as secure as that foundation of self-worth. And for everyone listening, if you think about like, maybe you've always had like a certain, or you've had many, but a certain goal or dream that you thought like, when I finally get that thing, then I'm going to be happy. Then I'm going to be fulfilled. And maybe it's getting married or having kids. Maybe it's like getting the dream house or hitting a certain goal weight or a number in the bank account or a job title or fame or any of those things. And then we work so hard for these things, right? And have you ever worked so hard? Sometimes it's months or years or decades. And then you finally got that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you arrived at it, did it like solve all your problems, make you happy and fulfilled forever?
For like 5 minutes.
Right? Yeah. For most of us, it's like, oh, we were happy for a month or a week or 5 minutes. And all of a sudden we're like, why do I still feel like something's missing, or like it's not enough, or like I'm not enough? And then what we do, and by the way, when we think about this, every commercial on television is like, if you get this, and like, we just tend to think those are the things, right? Every well-intended family member says, how, are you married yet? Are you going to have kids? How's your job? We think once we have great answers to all those things, we'll finally feel enough inside. And in the pursuit of all those things, right, we finally get one, and then we realize, oh, I still feel like something's missing. So usually what we do is we then think, oh, I just got to work harder. I just got to go to the next level. I just got to achieve more. And this becomes this never-ending cycle for most people. Their entire life, they arrive never feeling enough or fulfilled. And those things are beautiful and important, and they all build self-confidence, but none of them build self-worth. And that's different. And so when you, and the one thing I want to share really fast is that when you build self-worth and believe you are enough as who you are, it doesn't curb your ambition. Like, you actually become more ambitious, right? Like, when you learn to believe you are enough as you are, you become more ambitious, because you realize, like, oh gosh, if I fall flat on my face, if I fail, it might shake my confidence a little bit, but it cannot touch my worth. And you become more ambitious. And the beautiful part, like, I've only learned to have true self-worth in my life the last 3 years. That's it. And I still work harder than ever. But when I achieve the things I'm so passionate about, I actually feel fulfilled. Versus like, something's missing, I'm not enough, I'm perpetually not enough. I'm no longer sabotaging things in my life. And it's self-worth is truly the one thing that changes everything. And I know there'll be so many people listening right now that just step one have awareness, going, oh gosh, yes, self-confidence is important, but all the things I've been trying to do, thinking that they'd make me feel enough, they're all building self-confidence, which that's important. But they do not build self-worth. It's very different. And just that awareness is going to be life-changing.
It's going to be life-changing. And I've never, ever heard anyone speak about self-confidence and self-worth in this way ever. It was a very big aha for me. And even in the parts of the book where you were talking about, I'm a big, like, I love to visualize. I know that you do too. Like, I go back to the like old school Jamie that I know that talked about it in Believe It, where you would sit in the QVC parking lot and you'd visualize yourself, and you'd visualize visualization is big for me and you too, but for me and you both. But I never really thought about, I'd always thought, okay, to manifest these things, and, we're in the new year, it's February, to manifest these things, I've got to do a great vision board. I got to visualize. I'm going to, really be thinking about these things. But you bringing in the aspect of, no, actually, you know what you got to do before you get those magazines out and before you make your chart of the things you want in your life? You've got to get that self-worth right. You've got to that's actually the foundation. And I thought that was really powerful in terms of visualizing goals and things in your life. And I'm a big visualizer, and I'd never thought about it like that. That was powerful. That was really powerful.
And I love a great vision board. And here's what's wild is when you can look back at the things on your vision board that have happened, right? It's often when you also in parallel, learn to believe you're worthy of those things, right? So we can have like the big vision boards and all that, which I love. And I love manifesting and love all that. And I know exactly what you just said, that none of them will actually happen until we learn to believe we're worthy of them, or we'll make them happen, but then we'll sabotage them, right? Because our self-worth is our ceiling. It is the thing. It is the thing.
It is the thing.
Yes. It is why I wrote Worthy. And literally, like you shared, I'm donating 100% of the proceeds. Yeah. This is not, for me, this is like, oh my gosh, it was, and I feel so blessed. And yes, I worked really hard and did 100-hour weeks for a decade and all the things to build a $1 billion business from my living room. But I was actually praying about this recently. And I just felt this like feeling like, I feel like I did all those things, not so that I had some great outcome, but to learn this lesson that no matter how hard you work or how much you achieve, like, yes, that's fun. And I'm grateful for all of it, but it's not the thing that ever makes you feel enough. It's not. And I don't think, had I not gone through all of it, and then like, I remember, oh my gosh, Mallory, I remember, being a little girl watching Oprah growing up, always dreaming of meeting her.
And this story, and it took you how many years to call her after? 4?
Oh my gosh.
Tell that story. That's a good story.
that is what low self-worth looks like in our life. And by the way, sometimes it's that we meet a really cool new friend as an adult and we don't know why we're not reaching out, asking them to go to coffee. We don't know why. And like, we will sabotage things when we don't think we're worthy of them. And yeah, my whole life, I watched Oprah as a little girl in my living room. And, I was alone a lot growing up. I'm adopted. And I just had this, like, no business even thinking this, but like, I just was like, I'm going to meet her one day. And I dared to pray and believe that was going to happen. And, and I, 40 years later met her and had lunch at her house, had a 3-hour lunch. And imagine, whoever, for everyone listening, whoever maybe one of your heroes was your whole life from the time you were a little girl, and then meeting them. And then I had this 3-hour lunch and it was amazing. And by the way, Mallory, at that moment in time, I was like crushing it in the world. I was so confident. I had just sold at cosmetics for $1 billion cash. And I was on the Forbes list. All these things looked like I must just feel so great on the inside. And I didn't know yet the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. What I know now is I had a whole lot of self-confidence. I had this amazing 3-hour lunch with Oprah at her house. At the very end of it, she gave me her cell phone number and said, call me anytime. You can call me anytime. And I left there and I did not call her for 4 years. 4 years. And in that process, I told myself stories, right? About like, oh, I just need to wait for the perfect thing to say. Or, oh, everyone wants something from her. I'm going to prove I don't need anything. Like, just all these stories. And literally 4 years later, I realized that the real reason I hadn't called her was deep down inside, I didn't feel worthy of it. I didn't feel worthy of being her friend. And I knew that was a lie. Like, I remember this day going, wait a minute, my soul, if I pray and I ask God to tell me that my soul knows I am a kick-ass friend. Yeah. Like, I am worthy of being anyone's friend. I know that. But self-doubt, which lives in our thoughts and our mind, had convinced me this lie that I wasn't worthy. And that day I was like, I literally imagined like the way you'd see a volume dial on a radio in the car. Like, I imagined turning down the volume on my self-doubt in my mind.
I love that.
And turning up the volume on that knowing, that still small voice, that intuition, that knowing in our soul that, for me, when I pray, it's how I hear God talk to me is through my intuition. That's like, oh, you are more than enough. And you are so worthy of being her friend or anyone else's friend. And that day I was like, I had to listen to that knowing. And that was the first time I called her. And what's wild is then we've taught a course together, all these things since, but what's wild is it almost didn't happen because that time and so many others, I was doubting myself out of my own destiny.
Yeah.
And when I think about everyone listening right now, and I think about like, just when we learn to build self-worth and believe we're worthy of a great friendship, of a healthy relationship, of sharing our ideas and raising our hand, of writing a book and sharing our story, or putting our ideas out in the world, or showing up authentically. Like, I just think of how many people are doubting themselves out of their own destiny right now, because they believe the lie that they're not worthy of it, or that they're not enough. And I'm just so passionate about how the time for change has come, literally. And that's why also it's just an honor too, Mallory, to just champion you and cheer you on. Like, I know so many people listening are, because we can all see ourselves in another woman as she is believing she is worthy of the things she's doing, whether it's making a certain bread recipe or like showing their kids making a disaster of the house, or launching her business out into the world. We see that in us, in you. And I think you help bring that out in every person watching, because at a soul level, every one of us knows that we are fully worthy as we are. And like, that's one of the things I'm most excited about Worthy, about the book, is that this isn't like, oh, here's how to learn this foreign language that's going to take years to understand. It's like, oh, no. Actually, every person, this is the best news is every person listening to us right now, I do not care how many past mistakes, failures, how many people you've hurt, how many things you regret, where you come from, what you don't have or don't know, or how many successes you have. I don't care about any of it. You right now are fully worthy.
Yeah.
And it's not about learning to be somebody else. It's about unlearning the lies that tell you you're not.
Yes.
And that's what's so powerful and beautiful. And so, yeah, I'm just really, really excited. And
this is our victory lap, right? I like it when you say that, and they're like, let's run the victory lap. Like, forget about that. So many people live in the past and their past mistakes. And I just, you're talking about people watching me, and I just have to say, because truly, I mean, Jamie can say one single sentence to me, because Jamie is you are so wise. You are so wise. You can say one thing to me and it completely changes my mindset and the trajectory of the whole entire decision I'm going to make. And like, they're huge decisions. So that's why I was so excited to read Worthy. And I'm so fortunate and lucky, because not only did I know about the book, I was one of the first people that you were like, this was my life's work. It was a divine download. And I'm like, okay, Jamie, show me the book. Let me see. Let me read this book. And let me tell, oh my gosh, it is your life work. It is your life's work. It is a divine download. It is all of the things that you said. Because when I read this book, it jumped off the pages to me. And it's really cool, because I'm so lucky that I have some access to you, and you can help me through these things. Now you're helping everybody else. Anybody that picks up a copy of Worthy and reads this book, even reads like 2 chapters of this book, it's going to actually change your life. It's going to actually change your life. And that is so cool, because, I interview a lot of people and I'm like, this is really awesome. And I'm really inspired. But then I read this book and I was like, okay, this is actually going to change a lot of women's lives. And it's really cool. And I'm so grateful that we got to talk about it, because I'm certain that every single woman, after listening to this podcast, is going to be very inspired, and they're going to pick up this book. And it's a gift. It's a gift to women. And I'm so certain of what you just said, that all the things that you went through in your life, they guided you here, because this is incredible stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Jamie Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.